The rain-slicked gravel crunched under Ryan's boots as he stumbled out of the old pickup truck, the kind with rusted fenders and a radio that only caught static on stormy nights. His grandfather's calloused hand gripped his shoulder, steady as the ancient oaks lining their driveway, while thunder rolled low like a warning from the hills. In that moment, soaked to the bone and trembling not just from the cold, Ryan whispered the truth he'd buried for months, and the world didn't shatter. It bloomed. Elias Hawthorne, Ryan's grandfather, had eyes like weathered slate, the color of Vermont's November skies after a fresh snow. He was a man built from the soil of Addison County, where dairy farms stretched like patchwork quilts under endless gray horizons, and the air always carried the faint tang of maple syrup and manure. Beside him stood Grandma Clara, her silver hair pinned in a loose bun that never quite stayed put, her apron dusted with flour from the apple pies she'd baked that morning. They were the anchors in Ryan's sea of uncertainties, the ones who'd raised him since he was 5. When his mother, Lydia, packed her bags for the bright lights of Seattle, chasing dreams of graphic design gigs and a life beyond the dirt roads. That night, as the storm battered the tin roof of their 2-story farmhouse, Ryan sat at the scarred oak kitchen table, his fingers tracing the grain like it held some secret code. He was 13 then, all gangly limbs and freckles across his nose, the kind of boy who preferred sketching birds in the margins of his notebooks to tossing a football with the neighbor's sons. The words had clawed their way out during dinner, after Elias asked why Ryan had been so quiet lately, his sketches hidden under his bed like contraband. I think I'm gay, Grandpa, Ryan said, his voice barely above the patter of rain. He braced for the recoil, the way Pastor Jenkins at the community church preached about sin like it was a virus you could catch from shaking hands. Elias didn't flinch. He set down his fork, the one with the bent tine from years of spearing hay bales, and leaned back in his chair. Clara's hand found Ryan's across the table, warm and steady, her thumb rubbing circles like she used to when nightmares woke him as a kid. Well, son, Elias rumbled, his voice gravelly from a lifetime of calling cattle at dawn. That explains why you've been mooning over that actor in those movies you sneak watch on the old laptop. Nothing wrong with loving who you love. World's got enough hate without us adding to it. Ryan's chest unclenched, a sob bubbling up that he swallowed hard. Clara pulled him into a hug that smelled of lavender soap and fresh bread, whispering, "You're our boy, Ryan. Gay, straight, or sideways, you're ours. And we love you fierce for it." They didn't make a fuss, didn't call a family meeting or drag him to some counselor in Burlington. Instead, Elias took him fishing the next day, out on Lake Champlain where the water mirrored the Adirondacks like a promise. As they cast lines into the glassy surface, Elias shared stories of his own youth. How he'd loved a farmhand named Tommy back in the 40s, before the war and marriage to Clara turned life into something safer, something survivable. Kept it locked away, Elias admitted, reeling in a perch with practiced ease. But it don't make it less real. You get to live it out loud, if you want. Clara baked rainbow cookies that week, the kind with food coloring swirled through the batter, and left them on his nightstand with a note. For our brave heart. She started clipping articles from the Burlington Free Press about pride events in Montpelier, slipping them into his lunch bag like talismans. Life in Addison didn't change much. The same creaky school bus rumbling down Route 22. The same bonfires where kids like Jed Harlan slung slurs like they were compliments. But at home, Ryan breathed easier. His grandparents built a world where his truth was just another thread in the quilt of their days. By 15, Ryan had grown into his height, 6 feet of lean muscle from chopping wood and mucking stalls. He kept his hair tousled, brown waves that caught the sun like polished chestnuts, and his blue eyes held a quiet fire, the kind that made teachers pause during poetry readings. School was a minefield. He dodged the locker room jabs, the whispers about why he never chased skirts at the county fair. But he found solace in the library, devouring books by James Baldwin and Audre Lorde, their words a lifeline across the Atlantic to a community he could only imagine. One crisp October afternoon, as leaves turned the hills to flame, Ryan met Theo at the farmer's market in Middlebury. Theo was a summer kid, visiting from Boston with his parents, all sharp cheekbones and easy smiles, peddling a vintage Schwinn through the stalls piled with pumpkins and cider. He was selling handmade leather journals, his fingers stained with dye, and when their eyes met over a stack of notebooks, Ryan felt the air shift, like the first crack of spring after a long freeze. Hey, you look like someone who needs to write down secrets, Theo said, holding out a journal bound in deep indigo leather. His voice was light, accented with the clipped vowels of the city, and his dark hair fell in curls that begged to be touched. Ryan laughed, a sound rusty from disuse, and bought the journal on impulse, his allowance from baling hay burning a hole in his pocket. They talked for hours, the market emptying around them as vendors packed up, about art and escape, Theo sketching Ryan's profile on a napkin while Ryan confessed his dreams of studying film in New York. Theo's hand brushed his when he passed back the napkin, and Ryan's skin hummed like a live wire. That summer blurred into stolen moments. Bike rides along the Otter Creek, picnics under weeping willows where Theo read poetry aloud, his voice wrapping around Walt Whitman's verses like a caress. Ryan's first kiss happened at dusk by the lake, Theo's lips soft and tasting of wild mint, the water lapping gentle as their breaths mingled. It was clumsy, fervent, a revelation that left Ryan dizzy and whole. Back home, Elias caught him grinning at the dinner table and winked over his mashed potatoes. Boys got a spark, he'd mutter to Clara later, and she'd shush him with a smile, but her eyes shone proud. Yet even in that haven, shadows lingered. Letters from Lydia arrived sporadically, postmarked from Seattle with her looping script promising visits that never came. Miss you, kiddo. Life's a whirlwind here, big projects, new friends. Come out when school's done. Ryan read them in his room, the words blurring as resentment coiled tight. She'd left him with Elias and Clara because the small-town life was suffocating. But now, at 16, she wanted him back, like a forgotten suitcase she'd remembered in the closet. The call came on a gray December morning, snow dusting the evergreens like powdered sugar. Lydia's voice crackled through the landline, bright and insistent. Ryan, honey, it's time. I've got a spare room in my apartment overlooking the sound. Great schools, opportunities, you'll love it. Grandpa and Grandma have done enough. They're getting on. Ryan's stomach twisted. Elias and Clara exchanged glances across the kitchen, their faces etched with the quiet ache of letting go. We'll miss you something fierce, Clara said that night, folding his favorite flannel shirt into his duffel. But Elias pulled him aside by the woodpile, axe in hand. You go if it feels right, son. But remember, home ain't a place. It's the people who love you unbroken. The drive to Seattle was a blur of interstates and rest stops, Lydia's Prius humming along I-90 while she chattered about her freelance gigs and the vegan cafe down the block. Ryan stared out at the Cascades rising like jagged teeth, the landscape shifting from Vermont's gentle rolls to Washington's sharp edges. Seattle greeted him with drizzle and the scent of salt air, its skyline a forest of glass and steel that made Addison feel like a dream half-remembered. Lydia's apartment was in Capitol Hill, a third-floor walk-up with exposed brick walls and succulents on every windowsill. It was trendy, alive with the hum of the city, street musicians on Broadway, coffee shops spilling laughter onto the sidewalks. But from the moment Ryan stepped inside, the air felt thin. Lydia hugged him quick, her perfume sharp as pine cleaner, then launched into ground rules. Curfew at 10, no boys in the house, focus on studies. This is a fresh start, Ryan. No more country bumpkin stuff. He nodded, unpacking his journals into a desk drawer, Theo's napkin sketch tucked between pages like a pressed flower. Texts from Theo lit up his phone. Miss your laugh already. Write soon. But the distance gnawed, 5 states of silence stretching between them. School was Roosevelt High, a sprawling brick behemoth where kids navigated cliques like urban jungles. Ryan kept his head down, his Vermont drawl earning curious glances in English class. He made a friend in Kai, a non-binary artist with neon-streaked hair who sketched murals in the margins of their lit notes. You're from where? Like, cows and flannel. Kai teased, but their easy acceptance cracked open a door Ryan hadn't known was locked. Lydia worked late most nights, her laptop glowing blue in the living room as she edited logos for tech startups. Dinners were takeout falafel or quinoa bowls, eaten in front of true crime docs where she dissected the plots like puzzles. Ryan tried to bridge the gap, sharing stories of Elias's fishing tales or Clara's pies, but Lydia's smiles turned brittle. Sounds quaint, but that's the past. We're building your future here. The first crack came in February, Valentine's Day frosting the city in pink neon. Ryan had planned a quiet evening, sketching by the window, a care package from Clara arriving with maple candies and a knitted scarf. But Lydia burst in early, cheeks flushed from a date with some architect named Trent, her laughter echoing off the walls. She spotted the rainbow pin on Ryan's backpack, the one Elias had given him years ago, and her brow furrowed. "What's that about?" she asked, tossing her coat over a chair. Ryan's throat tightened. "Just pride stuff. From home." She laughed, sharp as breaking glass. "Pride? Ryan, you're 16. Focus on college apps, not whatever this is. It's a phase, right? All kids experiment." The word phase landed like a slap. He retreated to his room, heart pounding, the city lights blurring through tears. Texts to Theo went unanswered that night. He was at a family thing in Boston, and the isolation pressed in, heavier than Seattle's perpetual fog. Weeks blurred into a tense routine. School, sketches and hidden corners. Lydia's sidelong glances like she's waiting for him to snap out of it. Kai invited him to a queer youth group at the local community center. A basement affair with mismatched chairs and herbal tea. There, Ryan met Alex, a lanky barista with tattoos snaking up his arms and a smile that disarmed like sunlight through clouds. Alex was 19, out since 15, working doubles at a cafe called Brood Awakening to save for art school. They bonded over shared playlists, Hosier and Frank Ocean, and late-night walks along the waterfront, where ferries cut wakes in the black water. "You're brave for coming out here," Alex said one evening, their shoulders brushing as gulls wheeled overhead. "Most kids your age are still figuring out TikTok dances." Ryan shrugged, the wind tugging at his jacket. "Brave? Feels more like surviving." He told Alex about Elias and Clara, the farmhouse haven, and Alex listened with eyes that saw straight through, nodding like he knew the shape of that ache. Their first date was impulsive, a street fair on Pike Place, where fishmongers tossed salmon like acrobats and the air hummed with buskers. Alex bought Ryan a crepe dusted with powdered sugar, their fingers lingering as they shared bites. Under the market's arched lights, Alex leaned in, breath warm against Ryan's ear. "You light up a room, you know that?" And when their lips met, tentative then sure, Ryan tasted freedom, salty and sweet. But home loomed like a storm front. Lydia found a half-written letter in Ryan's trash. Words to Theo about missing Vermont, about loving Alex in ways that terrified and thrilled. She confronted him over breakfast, her voice low and edged. "Who's this Alex? And what do you mean by loving? Ryan, this isn't you. It's that small-town poison. Your grandparents filling your head with nonsense." "They're not poison," Ryan shot back, fork clattering to his plate. "They love me. All of me." Lydia's face hardened, the woman who'd left for dreams now clutching control like a lifeline. "Love? Enabling delusion isn't love. We're getting you help. A therapist. Someone to sort this out before it ruins your life." The word delusion echoed in Ryan's skull as he stormed out, backpack slung over one shoulder, the rain starting again in relentless sheets. He texted Kai, "Need a couch. Fight with mom." Kai's place was a chaotic artist loft in Fremont, trolls and sculptures crowding every surface. Their aunt, a tattooed welder, offering him the pull-out without questions. That night, curled under a quilt stitched with constellation patterns, Ryan scrolled through old photos. Elias by the wood stove, Clara's pies cooling on the sill, Theo's grin frozen in time. Seattle's pulse thrummed outside sirens, laughter from bars, but it felt foreign, a city devouring its young. Alex called it midnight, voice soft through the static. "Come stay with me tomorrow. My roommate's cool. We'll figure it out." Ryan wanted to believe him, wanted the romance to be armor against the fraying edges. But as sleep tugged him under, the truth settled cold. Love, even the fierce kind, couldn't rewrite blood ties. Not yet. Spring unfurled in Seattle like a reluctant flower, cherry blossoms shedding petals onto rain-puddled streets, while Ryan navigated the fault lines of his new life. Staying with Kai became semi-permanent, a duffel of clothes migrating from Lydia's apartment to the loft's cluttered corners. Lydia's texts pinged daily, "Come home. We can talk." But each one carried the undercurrent of ultimatum, her love conditional as a lease agreement. Alex became his harbor. They spent weekends at Golden Gardens, sprawling on blankets with sketchpads and stolen beers. Alex's head on Ryan's lap as he traced constellations in the clouds. Orion's belt, Alex murmured one afternoon, fingers interlacing with Ryan's. But you're the North Star, Ree. Steady in all this mess. Ryan's heart swelled, but doubt whispered in the quiet hours. At 17 now, with graduation looming like a guillotine, the weight of futures pressed heavy. Roosevelt's halls buzzed with prom plans and scholarship fairs, but Ryan's transcripts were a patchwork, Vermont credits clashing with Washington's requirements. Counselors eyed him warily, whispers of his family situation trailing like smoke. One evening in May, as twilight painted the sound in bruised purples, Alex led Ryan to a hidden beach south of Alki, where driftwood piled like ancient bones and the Olympics loomed distant across the water. They built a fire from scavenged twigs, flames dancing shadows on Alex's face as he pulled out a battered guitar. His fingers coaxed melodies from the strings, soft folk tunes laced with queer anthems, words about loving in the light despite the dark. "Sing with me," Alex urged, passing the guitar. Ryan's voice cracked at first, tentative as a fawn's legs, but soon they harmonized, notes weaving with the wave's rhythm. In the fire's glow, Alex kissed him slow, hands mapping Ryan's back like braille, whispering promises against his skin. "We'll get an apartment after you graduate. You, me, the city, our story." Ryan clung to that vision, letting it eclipse the calls from Clara, her voice frail over the line. "Your ma's worried sick, but we're here, love, always." Elias sent packages, jerky from the local smokehouse, a compass engraved with true north, reminders of roots that pulled like gravity. But cracks spiderwebbed through the idyll. Lydia showed up at school unannounced one Tuesday, her sedan idling curbside like a predator. She cornered Ryan after algebra, her face a mask of concern laced with steel. "This has to stop. Trent and I, we're serious. We're building a family, Ryan. A real one. You can't keep running to strangers." "Strangers?" Ryan's voice rose, drawing stares from passing freshmen. "Alex isn't a stranger. He's home." Lydia's eyes narrowed, scanning him like defective code. "Home? That boy? He's trouble, tattoos, dead-end job. I looked him up. And this phase, it's dragging you down. I've booked a retreat in the Cascades. 2 weeks intensive therapy. You'll thank me." The word retreat masked what it was. Conversion Camp Light, a place where confused youth were reoriented. Ryan's blood ran cold, visions of locked doors and scripted prayers flashing like bad film reels. He bolted, weaving through Capitol Hill's throng to Brood Awakening, where Alex frothed lattes behind the counter. "She's trying to fix me?" Ryan gasped, collapsing onto a stool as the lunch rush ebbed. Alex untied his apron, pulling Ryan into the back room amid sacks of beans and chalkboards scrawled with specials. "No one's fixing you," Alex said fiercely, cupping Ryan's face. "You're not broken." Their kiss was desperate, a dam against the flood, but as Ryan pulled away, he saw the flicker in Alex's eyes, fear or something sharper. That night, betrayal bloomed like nightshade. Ryan crashed at Alex's tiny studio in Belltown, a walk-up with views of the Ferris wheel's lazy spin. They made love for the first time, bodies tentative then urgent, Ryan's sketches scattering like leaves in the wind. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of patchouli and sea salt, Alex traced Ryan's collarbone. "I love you," he breathed, the words a vow. But dawn brought the unraveling. Ryan woke to Lydia's voicemail, 10 messages, escalating from pleas to threats. "If you don't come home, I'll call social services. You're a minor. I make the rules." Then, a text from an unknown number. "Saw you with that guy. Keep it up, freak, and everyone knows." Attached was a blurry photo, him and Alex at the beach, firelit and intimate. Kai forwarded it too, swearing it came from an Anon account. Panic clawed Ryan's throat. He confronted Alex in the kitchenette, coffee brewing bitter as regret. "Did you tell anyone? About us?" Alex's face crumpled. "What? No, Ree, I'd never." But then the pieces clicked. Alex's roommate, a gossip with ties to Lydia's circle through some freelance overlap. Or worse, Alex himself, pressured by a whispered offer from Trent, Lydia's architect beau, for help with rent if he'd talk sense into Ryan. It didn't matter. The seed of doubt took root, twisting love into suspicion. "You're lying," Ryan accused, voice shattering. He grabbed his bag, sketches spilling like accusations. "I trusted you." "Ryan, wait." Alex reached, but Ryan was out the door, stairs blurring under his feet, the city a concrete maze swallowing him whole. He ran blind, pulse thundering, ending up at the waterfront, where container ships loomed like silent judges. The betrayal stung deeper than Lydia's words. Alex, his North Star, dimmed to a traitor. 17 felt like a death sentence, the world closing in with iron jaws. Clara's compass burned in his pocket, its engraving a faint pulse. True north. As gulls screamed overhead, Ryan made the call. Not to Lydia, not to Alex, but to Elias. "Grandpa," he choked. "I can't stay. I need to come home." Elias's voice was bedrock. "Pack light, son. We'll wire bus fare. You're safe with us, always." But Seattle's grip tightened. Lydia had frozen his meager savings, social services sniffing at his heels. Kai smuggled him supplies, a burner phone, canned soup, but the net drew close. On a humid June night, with graduation caps still fresh in memory, Ryan slipped from the loft under cover of fog, backpack heavy with journals and dreams deferred. The Greyhound station reeked of diesel and despair, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry wasps. He boarded the eastbound, ticket clutched like a talisman, the city receding in rearview mirrors slick with rain. 5 days across America. Prairies unfolding like green seas, Rockies clawing the sky, interstates humming with transient stories. In Cleveland, he met Javier, a drifter with a guitar case and eyes haunted by foster homes. They shared a bench, trading tales, Javier's of streets in Miami, Ryan's of farms and fractured families. "Survival's an art," Javier said, strumming a minor chord. "You paint it one stroke at a time." Pittsburgh brought torrents, Ryan huddling in a shelter where queers gathered like moths to neon. An elder named Marisol, with laugh lines deep as canyons, braided his hair and shared soup. "Child, your grandparents sound like saints. Hold that love. It's rarer than rain here." By the Alleghenies, exhaustion carved hollows under his eyes, but resolve hardened like maple sap. He sketched in bus depots, portraits of fellow riders, faces etched with quiet wars, each line a thread pulling him east. Vermont welcomed him with fireflies and the low of cattle, Elias's truck idling at the Albany station like a faithful dog. The hug was bone-crushing, Clara's tears soaking his shirt as they piled into the cab. "Our boy," she whispered, hand on his knee the whole drive. Home smelled of pine and pie crust, the farmhouse a beacon against the dark. But Ryan carried Seattle's scars, trust fractured, love weaponized. Nights found him on the porch, compass in hand, staring at stars that seemed farther now. Healing came slow, layered like seasons. Elias taught him carpentry, hammers driving nails as therapy, each strike mending invisible breaks. Clara gardened with him, hands in soil birthing tomatoes red as redemption. Theo visited once, summer's end, their reunion awkward then tender. A kiss under the apple tree, promises of letters across miles. Alex's apology arrived in August, a package of returned sketches and a letter. "I didn't betray you. It was Trent through my roommate. I ended it all, lease job. Learning to be better." Ryan burned it in the fire pit, ashes swirling like released ghosts, choosing forgiveness's shadow over its weight. Fall brought college apps, film studies at NYU, a deferral bought with Elias's savings. Lydia called sporadically, voice thawing to regret. "I was scared, Ryan, of losing you two, whatever this is." He set boundaries, visits on his terms, love rebuilt brick by brick. By winter solstice, Ryan stood at the lake's edge, ice cracking underfoot like old vows. He'd survived the run, the raw edges of 17 forging him sharper, kinder. Grandparents' love was the root, unshakable. The city's tempests, lessons in flight. In the farmhouse glow, with Clara's cookies and Elias's stories, Ryan found his true north. Not a place, but a becoming. Gay, resilient, whole. The world spun on, but he walked steadier, eyes on horizons yet unwritten.